Hello, I am Lucas Hawkins, and this is my Nutrition Assignment 1 resubmission, Nutrition and Digestion. My student number is 14009342. Carbohydrates. Our recommended macronutrient intake. Our macronutrient intake for carbohydrates should be between 50 and 60% of our daily food intake. However, for elite athletes like Mo Farah, it can be up to 70%. This is because athletes like Mo Farah will need a larger amount of carbohydrates in order to run for a long distance, as energy will still need to be supplied towards the end of the race. This will improve your performance as you will have more energy towards the end of the race, allowing you to run faster and overtake others that you are competing against. This will give you an edge over everyone else if you can run at a quicker speed for longer and make you a more difficult competitor to race against. Fats. Our recommended macronutrient intake for fats is between 30 and 35% of our daily intake. For a weightlifter, this is likely to be higher because they need more protection than a marathon runner and normal people. This is due to the heavy weights that they are lifting. Another reason they will need more fats is to help growth and repair, which is needed so you can lift heavier weights, which will improve your performance. Because how weightlifting works, you will be better and you'll be able to perform better if you can lift heavier weights. So you'll be a more elite athlete. Therefore, the fats that offer growth and repair will improve your performance. Protein. Our recommended macronutrient intake for protein is 15% of our daily intake. Again, a weightlifter will need more protein than a marathon runner. This is because they need to grow bigger muscles in order to perform at a higher standard, as it will mean they can lift heavier weights. They will also need to repair their muscles so they can get back to training quicker. Therefore, a weightlifter will need more than 15%, which a marathon runner needs and normal people will usually have. The growth and the repair is also important, as well as the growth, as if they can get back to training quicker, they can improve their weightlifting, giving them an edge over their opponents who may not repair their muscles as quickly and therefore have to have longer time to recover, unlike someone who has a large amount of proteins. As you can see from these two pie charts, how much macronutrients marathon runners and weightlifters need. For example, you can see that a weightlifter has quite a large amount of carbohydrates, but nothing compared to a marathon runner. This is because a marathon runner needs an increased amount of carbohydrates because it needs as much energy as possible as it is over a long distance. The type of carbohydrates a marathon runner will need will be complex, as they are slowly releasing energy, meaning they can be used over a long duration of time, which a marathon is. They are slowly released because they take a long time to break down. This helps performance for a marathon runner because it means they will not fatigue as quickly and will be able to run at a higher pace for longer. So if they were coming towards the end of a race and they had an opponent in sight, they would be able to push that a little bit more to overtake their opponent and potentially win. That may be them winning the race then, because they overtook as they did have enough energy from the carbohydrates. This is why they need so many. A weightlifter needs a large amount of carbohydrates as well, but it doesn't need as many as the marathon runners. This is because they don't work for as long amount of time. They also use different types of carbohydrates. Weightlifters use simple carbohydrates as they provide a short burst of energy and are easier to break down and quicker. This will help performance because weightlifters only need a short burst of energy in order to lift the bar over their head. And if they have sufficient amount of energy, it means they're able to do this. And it also means they could lift heavier weights which will improve their performance, as they will be able to record higher weight they've lifted, which could potentially lead to their winning their event, as they've lifted a heavier weight than their opponents due to the amount of simple carbohydrates they've had, which is responsible for the short bursts of energy. A marathon runner does not need as much protein, as you can see from the pie chart. It does not need as much protein because it doesn't release as much energy, which is the main thing needed for a marathon runner. Marathon runners don't really have a certain protein either. They have incomplete and complete proteins. They need them both. This is because things like meat and poultry products, as well as cereal, bread, rice and pasta, are all important for the marathon runner, as they provide energy. But the reason the marathon runner doesn't need as much protein is because the large amount of carbohydrates they need, and due to the large amount of carbohydrates, fat and protein have had to have their amount reduced significantly. And the fact that the marathon runner isn't having as much protein means that it will improve performance, as they will have larger carbohydrate stores which are needed in order to give them more energy, and the more energy means they will be able to run for longer and faster. A weightlifter, on the other hand, needs a larger amount of proteins. A weightlifter needs 30% of their macronutrient intake. This is because they need it for growth and repair as well as energy. Marathon runners need it for growth and repair as well, but due to the stress on the muscles, tears are likely to appear more for weightlifters. Therefore, they need to be able to repair their muscles. And also, if they do this, it means they'll be able to return to training quicker, allowing them to have an edge over their opponents, as they have less breaks off training. This can be linked to, well, this would benefit their sporting performance as a result of the extra training. The extra training could lead to them being able to lift heavier weights and improve their technique. And if they're improving their technique, it may give them an advantage over their opponents, because their opponents cannot lift as heavy a weight as that, meaning they will be ahead of that participant in their event, as he cannot lift as much as the weightlifter who has 30% protein in their macronutrient intake. Fat. A marathon runner has a reduced amount of fat because of the large amount of carbohydrates, just like the protein. It had to be reduced for the energy. However, they still need some fat so they have healthy skin, and for thermoregulation, which is still important for a marathon runner. Obviously, if a marathon runner did not thermoregulate, performance would be reduced when running, as they cannot cool themselves down, and they may become overheated, meaning they'll lose energy through sweating, and that may mean they'll be fatigued towards the end, which may mean they'll be overtaken by their opponents. But as they are thermoregulated because they have the 15% of fat in their diet, it means they will not become fatigued, and this can potentially give them an edge over their opponents who aren't, who do not have as good thermoregulation, and they will become fatigued quicker, unlike the person with 15% fat, meaning they can overtake their opponent when they become fatigued as a result of not being as well thermoregulated. Weightlifters need a reduced amount of fat due to the large amount of protein and carbohydrates they need, so fat has to make way a little bit. They still need some fat to act as a layer of protection when lifting heavy weights. It's because if they don't have the protection, they may become, their muscles and their organs may become damaged when lifting weights, which will reduce the level of performance because they won't be able to lift as heavier weights due to the effect the weights will have on them. Obviously they'll be injured and it may put them out of their sport for a while. Therefore they need fat so they are protected and they can lift as heavier weights as they can possible without becoming injured, which could potentially put them out for a long period of time. This may also cause them to lose their ability to lift weights as they've been out for such a long time due to the injury of not as they haven't had enough fats, meaning it will take them longer to get to where they were before their injury. Digestion. My definition of digestion is the breakdown of food into smaller chunks. But a definition I got from BBC GCSE Bite Sizes, digestion is the breakdown of carbohydrates, proteins and fats into smaller soluble substances. There are two types of digestion, mechanical and chemical. Mechanical digestion is the breaking down of food physically down. So it was done by your mouth and by your teeth. It's done by chewing it up, and it is the substance that you swallow has already been physically broken down, for example. Chemical digestion also starts off in the mouth by breaking down food. This is done with saliva. It works by having enzymes to break down your food. So for example, amylase will break down carbohydrates and things like that, and it's not done physically, which is the difference between mechanical and chemical. Chemical is done by enzymes.